Welcome to Experimental, the science show that runs trains on dead cows, watches robots have sex, and explains how you can become a fossil. Later on, we'll be breaking into houses in Southern California, explaining how you can run your fridge through your hi-fi speakers,
Really loud. A lot of sound.
and having fun in the test department's kitchen. But first, what to do with a dead cow? Welcome to Linköping in Sweden. I know it looks like it should be Linköping, but that's not what the locals call it.
Welcome to Linköping.
Told you. Experimental is here, not because it's one of the greenest cities in the world, with almost all of their buses and taxis running on biogas. We're not even here because of Amanda, the world's first train to run on biogas. No, we're here because of where they get their biogas from. That's right, Amanda and her friends run on cows. Traditionally, green types have been interested in using what comes out the back of a cow to make methane gas. But here in Linköping, they've gone one stage further. They use the cows themselves. It works like this. First, Daisy and her friends arrive at the local abattoir where, well, you really don't want to see what happens next. Suffice it to say that whilst this duck is swimming around, Daisy is being turned into pretty lumps of steak and mince. But even after most of her is wrapped in cling film, there's still about 40 kilos of bits left over. Some of you might want to look away, as those bits are about to come out of that pipe. Luckily, this soup of cow gut and skin is not squirted directly into a fuel tank. There's another process before Daisy finds her way into an internal combustion engine. Bertil Carlson is in charge.
The material comes in and is blended in the tank over here, and then it's heated up to 70 degrees to kill bacteria, and after that it's cooled down to around 40 degrees, and after that it goes to the two big digesters.
It's here that Daisy meets up with her last meal once more, in the form of cow manure. Once nicely mixed together, two different types of bacteria start munching away. The first is what's called acid-forming bacteria, which turn Daisy into simple molecules containing methane and carbon dioxide. Next to feed are methane-forming bacteria, which effectively release the methane, which can then be collected and pumped into vehicles like Amanda. But how many kilometres does the 50-ton-plus Amanda do to the cow? The answer is quite amazing, according to her inventor, Carl Liljehook.
Amanda needs 7 cubic meters of gas for 10 kilometers. And from a cow we get about 21 cubic meters of gas. So Amanda can go 30 kilometers on the volume from a cow.
That's, this far. Indeed, with almost 30,000 tonnes of Daisy bits being processed each year, Amanda could travel a total of 5 million kilometres. That's almost over 100 times around the Earth. All very green. But do the locals actually know what is powering Amanda?
Oh, in English, they run on
Well, they run on biogas and it's very good for the environment.
and we like that in Linköping, even if it smells bad.
Smell? Well, I guess that's the price you pay for green fuel.
Hello!
In a moment, Experimental will be robbing a house in California for its cheese. But first, the test department will recreate one of the world's greatest engineering achievements with a broomstick. Bobby is one of the test department's youngest members. He's really a particle physicist, prone to pondering the existence of the Higgs boson particle. But he's also a railway modeller. With a special interest in Scottish bridges of the Victorian era, which is what his two colleagues are discussing. As it's Bobby's birthday, they've decided to build him his very own railway bridge. And this is the bridge of their choice. The Fourth Rail Bridge. The real one is 2.5 kilometres long and made of 55,000 tonnes of steel. But our test department testers are going to recreate it with 2 chairs, 4 broomsticks, a few bags of sand, and themselves. This design is known as a cantilever bridge, the weight of a train being held partly by the beams above, which are in tension, and partly by the beams below, which are in compression. Clever stuff. But will it work when the top beams are replaced by our demonstrator's arms and the bottom beams by broomsticks? Let's see. Coming up on Experimental, our very own guide to being around in 20 million years' time. How sound makes ice cream, and how robots have sex.
Don't try this at home.
When Experimental heard that scientists were robbing houses in San Diego, we had a short ethical debate. Phone the police or join them. And we opted to join them. The robberies were masterminded by this woman, Heather Zarsky. But she's not a normal criminal. Indeed, she's not a criminal at all. She's an intern at the San Diego Police Department's forensic labs.
The major goal of this research project was to simply answer whether or not we could obtain DNA profiles from food evidence left at crime scenes.
That's right. This was not a robbery, but a scientific experiment to determine whether DNA from snacks eaten during the robbery could help nab the culprits. But how many criminals eat on the job? Quite a lot, according to our colleague, Tamara Ballard.
It's just always amazed me that someone will go to the trouble of wearing gloves to break into a place, but then sit down and have some snack.
Nefarious munchy evidence is not new at crime scenes. Just like fingerprints, a bite mark is almost unique. So dabbing bits of cheese with plaster of Paris is a key job in many forensic labs. But it's all so Sherlock Holmes. What Heather and her colleagues wanted to do was to bring it into the 21st century, which is why they staged the robbery. That's right, these 5 volunteers were tasked not only to turn the house over, but empty its fridge into their stomachs. The idea was to try and identify which foodstuffs were likely to provide the best source of DNA traces from the felon's saliva. DNA is our genetic blueprint. It dictates everything: our height, our weight, our colour. No 2 people on the planet have the same DNA except identical twins, which is why it makes such a powerful tool when it comes to working out who ate all the pies. Amazingly, they managed to recover complete profiles from 43% of the foods munched during the experiment. But according to Dr. Patrick O'Donnell, the likelihood of the match depended very much on the nature of the food eaten.
Something with a hard surface such as cheese or a candy bar, it's just more efficient to recover human DNA from those as compared to having an open texture such as a sandwich or a hamburger.
So, here is Experimental's guide to what not to eat on a robbery.
Bonsoir, I am Pierre, your posh French waiter. On tonight's menu to catch a feast, may I suggest that hard English cheddar? Its texture is perfect for the swabber, but crackers are no. They are too flat. It is not enough contact with the lips, not enough saliva on them. The French cheese too, the brie, the camembert, is too soft, huh? But the corn on the cob I can highly recommend. A solid bite is required and the gone contact is out. Très bon. Hamburger, pizza, they're hard to swap because of their open texture, you know, but it is possible, so keep them in mind. But my advice to you people at home is to stock your fridge with hard veg and hope that your feast is an health-conscious one.
a moment, fun in the test department kitchen. But first, a guide to immortality. Ever fancied living forever? Welcome to Experimental's guide to, if not living for 200 million years, at least being around in 200 million years. The trick is to get yourself fossilized. Step 1 is preparation. Only your bones will turn into fossils, so it makes sense to make sure they're as big as possible. So consume a lot of cheese and milk to build up the calcium, and a bit of weight training would help too. Next, when you're ready to die, choose your location with great care. An active volcano is good, so long as you only get covered with ash. Hot lava is a no-no. Far better would be the floodplain of some river just before heavy rainfall. What you need is for your body to be covered as quickly as possible by a nice fine clay, which over time will turn into sedimentary rock, its minerals gradually replacing your bones with stone. If you manage this trick, then in around 200 million years, there is just the chance that someone, or something, might dig your fossilized bones up and perhaps decide you're worth putting on display. Still to come on Experimental, the 190 decibel fridge. And robots that cannot keep their bits away from each other. But first, to the test department for some culinary science. Meal times in the test department are always fun. It seems that everything our demonstrators eat must be experimented on first. So on the menu today, scrambled eggs made in a paper pan. And for pudding, how about grapes? Cut them in half with a little bit of skin still connecting them, put them in the microwave and you can create plasma balls, the so-called fourth state of matter. But there are even stranger things in the kitchen just waiting to be investigated, such as spaghetti. You see, you may or may not have noticed that when you snap a dry piece of spaghetti, it almost always breaks in lots of places rather than just one. Based on the work of French scientists Sebastian Neukrich and Basil Odderly, the test department think they know why. Unless there's a weak point, most things like sticks will break in the middle. But when spaghetti breaks, the researchers found, the initial snap sets up what physicists call flexural waves. Powerful waves that for a split second cause the spaghetti to bend even more, causing a second or even a third or fourth break at different points. Apparently, you can see it clearly happening with a high-speed camera. But the test department have managed to bust theirs, which is why they've constructed this, the multi-break Pasta Analyzer 3000 machine. With the spaghetti strapped to the powerful braking arms, it's time to see what happens when approximately 100 strands of pasta explode into around 300. Should be good. 2, 3. Oh dear. Still, no need to go back to the drawing board. You can still have lots of fun, as long as someone else is clearing up.
Don't try this at home.
In a moment, we'll be off to Cornell University for a robot dirty movie. And we'll be finding out how not to impress the girls down at the test department. But first, let's turn up the volume. The little town of State College, Pennsylvania, was once voted one of the least stressful places in the United States. It's the place where physics professor Matt Posey and his colleagues, Professor Robert Smith and Steve Garrett from nearby Penn State University, like to come and hang out in ice cream parlours and dream of ways of making their lives even less stressful by getting rid of hum.
That's some good coffee ice cream.
And the hum they most want to get rid of is this, the hum of the common kitchen fridge. Or more accurately, the hum of the compressor inside the fridge.
Yeah, so right here is where the the compressor is in this ordinary ice cream cabinet, and this is where we put our vapor compression machine.
Our thermoacoustic machine.
That's right.
Thermoacoustic machine? That's right. Our profs want to use sound to make fridges both cool and quiet, which is kind of odd to brains like yours and mine. But these guys hail from Penn State's Thermoacoustic labs, where they have lots of fun fiddling with knobs and making all sorts of strange sounds. But how is noise going to help in wiping out 100 years of humming fridges? Well, let's have a look at how ordinary fridges get cold. We can blame the humming fridge on its inventor, a German by the name of Karl Gottfried von Lind, who invented it back in 1876.
Why are you blaming me? Yeah, there's a little hum, but at least now the food is not rotten.
The man's got a point. The food is not rotten because the fridge cools by what's called a heat pump, a device that compresses and expands gases to pump the heat out of the fridge and into the room, which is why a fridge is warm at the back. And it's the compressor that makes the hum.
Yeah, I told you this before.
What Dr. Posey and his team have done is to get rid of the compressor and replace it with sound. Sound so loud it could kill. It's all contained within this steel cylinder.
There's a lot of sound. 190 decibels is really loud. A lot of sound. For comparison, the loudest seat at a rock concert is about 110 or 120 decibels. A jet airplane taking off is about 145 decibels. So at 165 decibels, your hair catches on fire. So 190 dB of sound pressure level inside of this machine is really loud.
Yes, I think we've got the point. Inside the cylinder is a big speaker, which creates a lot of noise, but how's that going to cool a fridge? Well, when the speaker at the bottom of the tube vibrates, it creates a pressure wave at the top so powerful it could set your hair on fire. A bit lower down, and the pressure and the temperature is lower. The fridge works by placing some metal grills that run from the hot zone to the cool zone, like this. All you then need to do is pump the gas from the fridge cabinet through a pipe running through the cool bits of the grill, and another from the outside running through the hot zone. The effect is a heat pump, the heat being pumped out of the fridge unit into the air, just like an old fridge. But what about the noise?
The sound waves never get outside of the can. So you don't hear any of the sound waves out in the room, or when you open your refrigerator to go get some mustard, you don't hear the sound waves. Sound waves are contained inside of the pressure vessel. And that's why it's pretty quiet.
But is it really cool? Does it really work? Well, when the boys hooked it up to the chillers in their favourite ice cream parlour, the owners were so impressed they gave them a free tub or two of especially strong coffee ice cream.
Coffee ice cream? Good.
Hello.
In a moment, those amorous robots. But first, to the test department for a little gambling. The test department's Billy Bunter is taking some time away from the frontiers of science to relax and read his favourite magazine, Industrial Archaeology News. But all of a sudden, his attention is drawn to a review of the book of his dreams, called Fenland Pumping Engines by KSG Hind. It's lavishly illustrated and cost £24.99. But does Billy have enough money for the purchase? Oh dear. But then he has a cunning plan. Perhaps he could have a wager with his highly strung friend, Karina. Billy suggests a wager on the outcome of the so-called Mpemba effect. Amazingly, it says that warm water, say at about 70 degrees Celsius, will freeze quicker than cool water, say at about 30 degrees Celsius. It was a phenomenon brought to the attention of the modern world by a Tanzanian schoolboy in 1968, and now bears his name. It sounds so unlikely that Karina foolishly accepts the wager. So let's see if Billy's trust in science has earned him the money he needs. After an hour in the freezer, we're ready to find out. As Billy hoped, the cooler water is still not frozen. But it seems that the hot water hasn't frozen either. Or has it? Amazingly, Billy has won his wager. However, it seems that whilst Billy might be a top physicist, he's no judge of psychology. And finally, forget the birds and the bees. This is replicating robots. It had to happen, and now it has. Here at Cornell University, two of their most trusted professors managed to make a machine that reproduces itself.
We're trying to teach it to self-reproduce.
That's right. We're talking robot sex. The idea of a self-replicating machine is as old as the idea of robots themselves, but very few have actually gotten one to do it. That feat was left to Dr. Hod Lipson and his colleague Viktor Zykov in their lab at Cornell University. But before we watch the little buggers at it, what exactly is reproduction? Biologically speaking, we tend to think of males and females doing things with eggs and sperm, which is what we humans do quite a lot, although we can't actually show it on the telly. Snails, on the other hand, are both male and female, depending on which way the mood takes them, which is fine to show on the telly. And when we get down to the level of bacteria, the differences between male and female really cease to exist. So what do robots do?
Well, we're talking about self-reproduction, which is in fact a machine taking a supply of material and energy and making or producing a new machine.
Fine. Let's look at their robot's reproductive organs, if that's the right word.
In this half of the robot, we have the controller. This board and the processor has all of the information necessary to carry and implement the program of self-replication for the whole robot.
So that'll be robot DNA then?
The cubes, they have a capability to communicate with each other, and the processors, they collaborate in order to achieve self-replication successfully.
And now the moment you've all been waiting for. Let's see two robots humping. At last. Is that a kiss? Or have they gone the whole way? Yes, I think they have. But let's face it, that's not very impressive.
These robots are actually not very intelligent. They expect the cubes, the material, the energy to come in very specific times in very specific locations. If the material is not supplied in the right place and time, these robots will fail. The replication won't happen.
Okay, so perhaps it's not the robot porn you were hoping for. But do these little robots remind you of something? No? That's right, it's those bacteria from which all advanced life eventually mutated, which explains why Hod and Zykov have such big ideas for their funny little humping robots.
One application that comes to mind immediately are space applications. We want to be able to send robots to a remote planet to do some exploration there, but we want to be able to repair them autonomously. So we want to allow these robots to adapt to new mission profiles, to new tasks, to replace faulty parts, and to restructure themselves to whatever task they need to do.
So perhaps when robots like this take over a distant planet, or are circulating Alpha Centauri in the year 3010, the historians will be tracking the origins of their replicating life form back to two primitive professors in a little lab at Cornell University.